vortex of attraction. And the fact that you said that before we came here, we were putting things in our vortex.
Isn't that logical? That since you didn't just begin with this personality, isn't it logical that intentions that were in place prior to the formation of this physical being, that there would be momentum already in place? Isn't that completely logical?
It must be.
It has to be.
Because there's so many things that we don't believe that we attracted ourselves. And this ties into my question, because there's this saying about the sins of the fathers, or what are we paying for that we did in a previous lifetime?
Nothing, none of that, bogus, no, not, never, ever.
But you said that we put things in our vortex even before we came.
But here's the thing that you have to understand. As you are moving through this life experience, what is the factor that you have heard us say most often that happens when you reemerge into non-physical? You leave behind all resistance. And so there's this clarifying experience of reemerging into non-physical. And then from that pure place of non-resistance, you come forth again and again and again. The stuff that you don't want, you pick up on your physical trail, and you leave it on the physical trail when you reemerge into non-physical.
And we pick up the stuff that we do want?
The content of your vortex is that which you immediately become once you reemerge into non-physical. And that is a no resistance zone. It's a resistance-free zone.
So when we experience anything, when we come into physical, it has nothing to do with the past life.
It does not. Other than that you are empowered, and that you are powerful, and that you are love, and that you know your worthiness. In other words, all of those positive, powerful, wonderful components are certainly there. But anytime you feel negative emotion, it's because in this physical format you got crossways of that knowing. Every time. No exceptions.
But how do you explain a child who gets raped?
By understanding that there are contrasting experiences that have within them the wherewithal to produce powerful desire. In other words, because the alternative to that is that the child is unworthy and therefore being punished. Really?
No, that the child did something in their previous life that they're paying for now.
It is never that. But sometimes fearful parents create a fertile ground for those kinds of thoughts. The more guarded you are, the more you push against what you do not want. Law of attraction is never misguided, and there is never anything that is misplaced. But there is sometimes a misunderstanding also of what has actually happened. In other words, Esther saw something on television one day, rather early in her interaction with us, in the early 90s. And it was about things that were happening to children in another part of the world. And as she watched it in total discomfort, really, and amazement at the horror of it, she could not even stay standing as she was walking through the room. And she sat in a chair, sort of despondent and in despair. And once she came back into alignment, she asked us the question, Abraham, if something that is not even happening to me, to other people in other cultures on the other side of the world, if my viewing that made me feel this bad, what must it feel like to them, those who are actually living it? And we said, Esther, your discomfort is far greater, because your desire and where you are usually hanging around vibrationally is so different from that moment in time where you focused upon that. So we want to say to you that negative emotion is negative emotion, and that regardless, powerful statement that we're about to make, we've not made it before, we are appreciating you summoning it forth. Regardless of the situation or the degree of horribleness or goodness that you are wanting to assign to it, the emotional scale is not as varied as you think it is. And negative emotion in its most awful feeling is because there is a strong desire that is being denied. And positive emotion in its most rapturous feeling is because there is strong desire that is being allowed. And so you just don't want to spend too much time superimposing your gap or your vibrational relationship with your inner being over anything that anyone else has lived. It's like when you jump over the fence and you break your ankle and it doesn't look good to those who are looking on. Your physical body gives you a sort of shock that keeps you from feeling it to the degree that you would without that help that is immediately there. In other words, there is a reservoir of assistance that is available to everyone, and it's being poured into every situation constantly. And so we're not for a moment saying that things that you don't want to happen will never happen to you or to anyone else. Of course, things are happening all over the world, but we are wanting you to measure your degree of discord that you are assigning to them. There are so many people that are measuring results or circumstances and wanting to put them in piles of right and wrong, good or bad, wanted or unwanted, and then they are wanting to assign the reason for these consequences. So much so that when people reach into past lives, oh, I must have been bad in a past life because something that I disallowed in this life is not happening. We want you to understand you have no power in your past life. All of your power is right here in the present. And the resources of Source are so fully here with you that there just is no logical reason for any of you to deny the well-being that is raining down on you. And so everything that we speak is to dispel those flawed premises about things that are happening that just cannot be controlled by you, because every one of them can be. And sometimes early in your experience, you want a poignant experience to remind you of the power of you see. And if it weren't for well-meaning people who are gathering around you and wanting to feel sorry for your plight, you would recover from it much more quickly, you see. You are naturally resourceful. You are naturally resourceful.
Thank you. I just want to get this straight. So everything we create here, this is all there is.
This is where all of your power is. But it's not all that is. It's where it all is. In other words, you're not just standing here by yourself having this experience. There are these cadres of non-physical consciousness here with you, supporting you, guiding you, assisting you, helping you, inspiring you. But when you say things like, I am not only inappropriate now, which is evidenced by the punishment of what's happening to me, it must have been going on for a long, long, long time. You just hold yourself in a vibrational pattern that doesn't allow the raining down of the well-being that is raining down all around you, you see.
I don't hold it. I was just trying to understand it.
We know you're speaking on behalf of so many, but we are really wanting you as teacher to understand it.
Thank you.
Enough?
Enough.
Really good. Really good conversation. You are gluttons, you are.
Thank you.